welcome to today's Fenland Chatter. Today is Easter Monday. It's a bank holiday, and we are joined again with Amanda Carlin.
Hello, Producer Dave.
Hello, Amanda. How are you today then?
Well, I'm better because my back went. That's no good, is it, over the Easter break?
Oh dear, that doesn't sound good. It's
No.
always the way, isn't it? You have a holiday, an official holiday, and you're ill.
Yes.
Yes, that's, sorry to hear that. I hope you're feeling a bit better.
I am. I can sit up and I can do this, so I'm happy.
How are you feeling now?
I feel much better, thank you. Yes, I can sit up and take part in this, so I'm very happy.
That's good. Well, at least you're not having to jump around, and so at least you can do this sat down.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah, I keep getting coughs and sneezes and things, but I think part of it is just life in general. I mean, we've got, because we're in quite a rural area.
Yeah.
And obviously this is springtime, you've got a lot of hay fever kicking off.
Yep.
So you've still got all the sort of the natural world nature going on as well. So you still get your coughs, you've still got flus, you've still got colds, you've still got hay fever, you've still got just general life that's going on that can sort of run you down and get you as well. So that's the problem. If you are trying to look out for coronavirus and not any other symptoms that are happening, it's so difficult. I mean, obviously, if you are concerned, the first thing to do is to call 111.
Yes.
And speak to the NHS that way, and then at least you can talk through your symptoms. So yeah, don't suffer in silence, and if you are really concerned, talk to someone. Don't just sit there and go, oh, it's nothing. If you have history of I don't know, hay fever, and it fits that, then obviously just take the prescribed medication, and if you get better, fine. If you don't, if you are in any doubt, phone treble 1 and talk to someone.
Good advice.
Yes, can't afford to lose any more listeners, can we? So look after yourself, keep well. So we are on episode 8.
Yes.
I didn't think we'd actually get this far.
No, amazing.
So it's a bank holiday, like Friday. We're doing a short show, nothing too big. We've not got an interview today, and I hope you did enjoy Friday's interview.
I did.
We got quite a few positive feedbacks from it. Quite a few people enjoyed it, so that's good. We have, but we'll do some talk about stats a bit later on. So I think we'll just get into the news and updates. For me, the first one is the call for scrubs by the NHS. This is mainly for secondary workers in the NHS that wouldn't necessarily be issued with PPE.
Yes.
And there are things like workers, care workers, and various other practices that are around the NHS care system that are not directly linked. And also they're having difficulty getting hold of, because obviously the priorities have shifted slightly. So the NHS have asked for 2,000 sets of scrubs to be made. Patterns are available, and if you get in touch with, now this is the email address, so it's COVID PPE, like as in personal protection equipment, so it's COVID PPE at cpft.nhs.uk, and that's phonetically, that's Charlie Papa Foxtrot Tango .nhs.uk. And if you make sure you use the word scrubs in the title, so they know what it's referring to, and they will probably either tell you what they need and send you instructions. I know there's plans out there for how to make up the scrubs themselves. I believe you have a couple of items to add to the news and updates.
Thank you, David. Yes, I do. The government have announced that furloughed staff can take up farming jobs to help with the shortfall in resource on British farms whilst the coronavirus pandemic's ongoing. They've got thousands that they need to recruit, and
Yes.
they're after a land army. So this is good for furloughed staff so long as their contract doesn't forbid it from happening.
Yeah.
So check contracts. That could help with your 20% in salary that you're losing, and also self-employed people whose contracts have dried up. That's not a bad thing to look at for now.
Well, we knew that was going to happen, that farmers were saying that they're obviously they have the issue of bringing in migrant workers, seasonal migrant workers for the summertime anyway, because obviously a lot of countries that they would come from, the borders are now closed, and movement of people across Europe has stagnated and is causing a lot of issues. So it was certainly mentioned or raised a couple of weeks ago that there was going to be a massive need for people to become farmers, to become pickers for crops. So it was certainly something that was raised. So it's interesting that they've actually gone ahead and done it and actually made it happen.
Well, I think it's good news for our area.
It is.
Yeah.
Seeing as that most of it is all agricultural and crop based.
Yeah.
So good for the local economy.
I think so.
And I think people might have a sudden appreciation of how much work the migrant workers actually do.
I think so. Yes.
I think there's going to be a massive realization as to how much we take for granted.
Yeah.
But yes, that's excellent news that's happened. And I think yes, you're really looking at bosses who are furloughing the company and just allowing the staff, even if it's in their contract, just get it in writing. Whatever you do, make sure you get it in writing. That your bosses are happy for you to do this, if it contravenes any of your contracts. But make sure that you have anything in writing, an email or something that has given you permission to do so. So at least you've got a paper trail. That's one thing I've learnt in my career. Always get it in writing. Just a phone call, yes or no, doesn't come back when something's gone wrong later on.
No, absolutely.
So make sure you have it official. It just keeps everything simple then. Okay, anything else you have? You got police issues?
Yes, Cambridgeshire Constabulary are delighted, they say, that so many people stayed home and heeded government advice over the Easter weekend, but they were disappointed to have to issue 19 tickets to people for blatant breaches. So that's not good. They've actually used the word blatant.
Yes, I've seen a few news articles where people were deliberately ignoring the police instructions and even assaulting the police.
That's terrible.
And it's just, I'm not going to. It's that mentality of I'm just going to do what I want. You can't tell me what to do, and it's just it just doesn't. It's just not sinking in with some people. Anything else from you?
I don't think on news. No.
Okay, I know there's other things you want to mention.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's news and updates for today, and we'll have a look at the stats as of this morning. The stats were always a day behind because it takes so long to get the information through. So we always get the stats as of the previous day. So as of today, the number of cases in the world is just over 1.75 million. So since Friday, that's gone up almost half a million new cases. The number of cases in the UK is 84,279. That's an increase of 30,000 since Friday. And the number of deaths, sadly, has now, as was mentioned, has tipped 10,000, with 10,612. And that's gone up from 6,159 on Friday. So that's
Scary.
4,500 deaths. And obviously we've got more to come. I think the numbers are going to fluctuate for a little while. So we'll just have to keep watching, keep listening to the results. But yeah, it's going to be a while yet. They're talking about extending the lockdown, and whether that is a surprise. I think people are naive to think that the lockdown is going to come to an end very shortly, because while the deaths are still going up, there's no, it's not going to happen.
I do think that we could end up living a very different life after this. I can see it.
It will take a while to go back to what was normal.
It will.
So yeah, so that's it. And we are now 6th in the league tables of countries.
We've gone up a place.
We have, and I said that would happen.
Yeah.
So here is, as I mentioned, here is the top 10. Number 1 spot is USA. Spain is in 2nd place. Italy in 3rd. France in 4th. Germany in 5th. We're in 6th. China's in 7th. Iran's in 8th. Turkey is in 9th. And Belgium is 10th.
Right.
And it's not a top 10 chart list you'd want to hear any time, but that's where we are at the moment. Our number of this is by number of cases identified, and I know that we are still vastly underestimating the number of cases that have been identified in the UK, so we are probably a lot higher, but Germany is well ahead of us at the moment. So I think even if we add other cases to it, I don't think we would be as high as Germany yet.
No.
But that may come. But what was interesting that they were talking this morning, they were saying, well, why has Germany got a different death rate? And there's a lot of people sort of comparing our country against other countries, and what they're saying is basically you're trying to compare apples and pears. It's not a case of this data is matching this data, because the viruses are affecting different age groups. And what they're saying is that in Germany it affected a lot of the younger groups, because a lot of the people that had gone to the skiing resorts, so they were in their younger age brackets, so they got the coronavirus. They came back and they've mixed with their groups, so you've got a higher number of people but at a lower age, so that there is a lower level of mortality within those groups.
I see.
So you've got higher figures but lower death rates.
Yeah.
Now in the UK you have a difference, and in America you have a different. In America you've got different cultures, different groups, different ethnicity. Within those groups as well, and it's affecting different people and different ages. So it depends on where the outbreaks are happening and who's it actually affecting, and that has a big effect on what groups or how many people are dying. So so you can't just immediately say, oh well, they've got a lower death rate, what are they doing differently? It's because it's happening in a different way, it's behaving differently and affecting different groups. So you can't just compare country with country.
No, absolutely not. But, these numbers are staggering.
Yeah.
And sobering.
It is, yeah.
So it was Easter Day yesterday.
Yeah.
And so I tuned into the Archbishop of Canterbury doing his live stream, which was absolutely gorgeous. And there was something about it. When you go to church regularly, you have a church family, because you're connected spiritually.
Yeah.
It's really strange how you're all connected, and it's a beautiful thing. But actually, being able to watch a live stream, there were no distractions. You could focus on what was being said, what was being delivered. And then I was thinking, if I was at church now, I would be hugging all the people around me. And that's a really nice thing to do. And the thought of being able to go back there one day into that building and hug people that you have love and respect for, it's a really big deal, actually, because I don't know if we'll ever be able to do that again. It's so strange, isn't it? And then
I think we will, because once everyone's either been immune to it or given the vaccines, then we're back to as we were before. So it's
the vaccine, yes.
So we will be back into a culture where we can shake hands and give everyone hugs, but we've got to get past that point.
We've got to get past it, haven't we?
Yeah,
we've got to get past it. And then, what if you're, I don't know, anybody? I was going to say young people, but it relates to anybody of any age. Say, you're in the early days of falling for somebody. You can't. You've got to be so careful, haven't you? It's really
you do. Yes,
difficult.
It will be a testing time for a lot of separated people who are going through the early stages of relationships.
Yeah.
But then they can all discover what it was like when we were young and we had to use pen pals and write letters and stuff.
Yes. I had an army relationship. I know what you mean.
But at least I think you get to know people better through writing to them.
Yes, you do, and distance and time apart isn't a big deal, is it? And you become more independent whilst being able to be together as well, which is also a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah. But we have our regular section is what would Doris do? I believe she has some information for us.
Yes, she does. Thank you, David. Doris says, please remember that because we've had a bank holiday, bins will be emptied a day later than they usually are. And then we'll be back to normal the following week. Yes. And she says, if you're in Wimbledon, don't worry, because she'll remind everybody.
And that will work quite nicely with the next show on Wednesday.
Yes, it will, won't it?
Because we'll actually catch them for the following day.
Oh, and I asked her a question this week.
Yeah.
I asked Doris, what can I do about my bad back? And she said, you have to rest.
Good.
That's what she said.
Good advice.
Well, that's a difficult thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I can imagine it is difficult. But yeah, you have to listen to advice and take it. And now's a good time to rest up and take things easy.
Yes, I'm enjoying it. I just feel really guilty about my huge to-do list.
Yes, I think a lot of stuff can be ignored, but I'm finding sleep is difficult.
Are you?
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I think, and apparently a lot of people are suffering from that as well.
I do see online people say they're up in the middle of the night and what have you.
Yeah.
I have never had an issue with sleeping. I am really fortunate.
Well, that's good. That's at least you're sleeping through. I mean,
most definitely, yeah.
Yeah, can I be jealous?
What time are you waking up, David?
I'm waking up about 8:30.
Are you?
But I don't, and it differs when I go to sleep. So it could be anywhere between 12 and 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. So you're going to bed in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
Literally, aren't you?
Yeah.
A couple of hours sleep almost.
Yeah, but I'm forcing myself to get up at the same time.
That's good, to stick to a routine. You might be tired, but you'll even out, won't you?
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody else is suffering as well, if they're having issues with sleeping problems as well.
Yeah.
See how wide this is. We're not going to do an interview today. We haven't got one lined up. We had a brilliant one from Andrew Callahan and Maddie on Friday,
Maddie. Yes,
which has gone down well. If you haven't heard that, or you haven't seen it, go and watch. And they're giving advice on how to do some outdoor cooking and fire lighting and safety and how to use household equipment to have barbecues. Something just other than barbecue coals. Yeah, have a watch. And it was nicely timed as well, because it was a good weekend for barbecues.
it was, wasn't it? The weather was great.
It was. Just a shame that we're in this. So, yes, we will let you know when we have our next interview lined up. So the next bit is Life with Lockdown. I watched a film yesterday.
What did you watch?
I watched Contagion.
Okay.
From 2011, I believe. Yeah. I think it was sort of inspired by SARS and avian bird flu, and looked at how that affected, or if you had a pandemic, how that would affect the world and how people would react. And a lot of it was pretty spot on. The technical side of it was quite interesting. We kind of matching what's happening with COVID and matching it with the Contagion film. The majority of it, to start with, was fairly paralleled, and they actually traced the contagion in the film was traced back to a bat, and they have obviously in this one they've found it in a lot of bats. In I think they found 6 strains of coronavirus within bats, so that's an interesting parallel. But what I found was interesting is where the film actually diverted from reality, because they were very much, we can't tell the public because there'll be mass panic, and we shouldn't tell the public, and we shouldn't give them all the information. And I think that's where the differs, is that they didn't tell people, and then they had mass riots and lawlessness within the communities, whereas we've not had that to the same degree.
No.
There have been incidences where there have been looting and some minor criminal damage, but on the whole planet has gone into lockdown, and they've all gone, yeah, okay. It's been a very sort of nonchalant, but just sort of agreeable. They've seen the issue.
Yeah.
It's happened. They've been given the information, and the governments have said, bar a couple, they've all said, self-isolate, and this is what we want you to do. Here's the guidelines. Yeah. And pretty much everyone has done so. There are a few exceptions, but we're talking about 260 odd countries. So, but with a film, that's where it differs. And people were just issues, and obviously they took a lot of American issues, because the American health service runs in a different system. It's more of a business. We have a national system, which is, say, free, but we pay for it, but it's a free service that we pay for, and anyone can use it. So it has a different level of priorities. It works in a different way. In America, the hospitals are funded differently. They are businesses. So you can see how there is a big difference and how it's been dealt with. But yeah, it was very different how the outcome was. But it was interesting how that they gave the vaccinations. They chose to do the vaccinations by date of birth, by a lottery system. Because obviously you have 300 million people. You're not going to have 300 million vaccines all produced in one go. And I can imagine that in some respects it's going to happen here as well. We're going to have 70 million. It's not something, unless they can produce 70 million and stockpile it and then give them to everyone in one go. How do they go about it? And they just had a lottery system where they had loads of balls with dates on it, and then they just issued, and they just said, all those with this birthday the 1st of March, just say. So everyone with a birthday on the 1st of March, that was the ball that was picked. And then they would all come in on day 1. Day 2 would be the 17th of August. Day 3 with all those people who were born on the 1st of December. So it was like that. So they would then be, and it would happen over 300 days, 365 days, until everyone was immune. So yeah, maybe for a country that big, that would be the way you would have to do it. I think you'd probably get through it a lot faster in the UK. But it will be interesting to see how they would actually go through a national vaccination programme.
Yeah, it is interesting.
I suppose if you've actually had it, then you wouldn't necessarily need to get it. So you could eliminate a lot of people to start with.
But aren't they saying that by having it, you're not automatically immune to getting it again?
It depends on if it's it depends on if it's mutated or not.
Right, okay.
But there are cases in South Korea where people are saying that they are getting it for the second time, and I don't know how true that is. And it may be the case where it has, because normally a flu, if you get it again, it's because it's mutated slightly, because it changes every year. So you always get the previous year's vaccine. You never get the current vaccine. So you can have the vaccine, but still get the flu. But the idea is that at least it's given you some immunity towards it. I believe I think that's my understanding of how it works. So at least you've got some kind of immunity within, but it's not necessarily. So it helps protect, but it doesn't stop you from getting it. What we need is someone who's actually got a medical background to come on and tell us. That would be fantastic. Then they can tell us that we're all talking rubbish, but.
It would be.
But yeah,
this is the thing. We do know some things, but we don't know everything because nobody knows everything about it, do they?
No, and that's the thing. It is so new. They're still trying to get their heads around of what's actually happening. I mean, they're doing surveys now where they're finding that when you sneeze, the virus is actually travelling further than what they first.
That's interesting.
And what they're saying is, like, if you're running, don't run behind someone within 2 meters, because if they cough, you are going to run straight into their cloud.
Oh, of course, you would.
So if you're running, you have to have a bigger separation distance, or don't run directly behind someone. So there's lots of things that we're still only just developing and learning as it's going on, because they've got no models. They don't know how it spreads. They've got ideas and historical data, but they're finding new ways to identify and track. And that leads me on to another one. They're talking about using mobile phones to track people around the world, their interactions. So I've got my phone, you got your phone, and if we were to come in proximity, it would then notify. So if one of us had it, it would then notify you to say you've come in contact recently with someone who has.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that. That's really interesting technology, isn't it?
It is, and it's something that all the telephone networks are all talking about. But I believe it's still a system where you'd have to opt in as well.
Yes.
They can only offer it, but for legal reasons, you have to opt into it. They can't just automatically just track you. So it depends on if you want to stay safe.
Yes, give me it. I'll sign up.
I believe there's a correction we need to give to the listeners as well about the referring back to the food bank in Charteris that we made last week. I think it was Wednesday, I believe.
Yes.
Have you got? We mentioned that it was the BP garage. It's no longer the BP garage. Just for your information, that if you are wanting to give food to the food bank, it's the Apple garages. And it's the Apple garage opposite the chip shops, Rumbles and Petrus, that are taking the collections.
It's good that they are as well.
It is good that it's still going on, because it was the churches were collecting them, and obviously they've had to close, so that they're looking for other places. Pet food. We talked about pet food being delivered by Ravenswood. They were doing deliveries.
Yes, the Paw Patrol.
Yes. Well, we've got another one to add to that, and that's the Pets Pantry in Chatteris. They're doing a delivery system as well for pets. They're going out, so if you put in their orders with them, they'll deliver it to you as well. So they're looking after their canine and feline and other animals. they're delivering their food and equipment as well.
That's good.
So if there's anyone else out there that has a business that they're delivering, which they've had to change, and they're delivering products to their customers, then let us know. We can add you to the list. Shall we do a shout out to some of our listeners?
Yes, please. That sounds good.
One of the joys of having stats is that we can see where people are actually listening from. And we are getting quite a few people in the south of the Fens.
Are we?
Down sort of Huntingdon, St Ives, Ramsey, sort of area as well. So out with the sort of the Fens. So that's interesting. Not getting as many up the top end of the Fens. So I think we do need to do some more advertising, Wisbeach area and above. Yeah, but what is noticeable is that we have a regular listener in the state of Virginia.
Do we?
We do. So, big shout out to our American listener.
Hello.
I don't know who they are, but they have listened to all the episodes so far. So, hopefully they'll listen to this. So, yeah. So that's fantastic news that people are listening. It's nice that they are listening and regularly listening, and if they want to get in touch and drop us a line and say hello, we would much appreciate that.
Yes, we'd love to know who they are.
So that's have you got anything for
going back to animals, actually. Yep. I have got something. The RSPCA Centre at Loch Fen, they've started a virtual Easter egg hunt. It does look like a lot of fun, actually.
Okay.
So, please take a look at their Facebook page to see how it works. It's a way of them doing a fundraiser as well, so it's a good idea.
Okay. Are they real eggs, or is it all completely virtual?
Well, I think they're real eggs, and you somehow... I don't know all the detail. I am kind of guessing, going out on a limb here. But... you're somehow taken on a trail of the RSPCA Centre, which is lovely because their animals are just so gorgeous. You know, David, they're posting every day some of their dogs, cats and other animals. Oh, they're just beautiful to look at.
Yes, and support your local animal shelters at the moment, because they're so much needed. A lot of the animal centres are in crisis at the moment because they're not getting the charity and they're not getting the funding from the public as well. So two of them are Hamerton Zoo and the bird sanctuary, which is a completely escaped my name, outside St Ives.
Raptor.
The Raptor. That's it. No, the Raptor Centre. They've called out for help because they're suffering from lack of financial support.
Really? Oh, well, that's good to know.
So yeah, if you can help them. Okay. Have you got anything else?
No, not. Well.
Go on then.
I have got one more thing. Yes, virtual council meetings. They've already started.
Oh yes, yeah.
Cambridgeshire County Council, and they are going to very sensibly open them up to press and the public, so that press and public can be present whilst the meetings are ongoing. That's great because it keeps things transparent, which is what we all want. Obviously, the public will not be able to speak, only the councillors and their officers.
Yes. But at least then they're not being held behind closed doors. At least then people can watch and just see what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's really, really good, actually, isn't it? Oh, there is one more thing.
Yep.
Central government are wiping off over £600 million worth of NHS debt nationally, which we knew about.
Yeah.
And local health trusts will benefit from this action. I'm not sure which ones, and I'm not sure by how much, but that is very good news indeed.
That is excellent news. It's good to see that is actually happening, and it wasn't just a false promise. So at least that is good news for the hospitals, where they don't have to worry about paying a lot of the bills. I think a lot of them was from the actual development of new buildings.
Yes.
Some
what do they call that? PFI, it was called, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
A lot of amalgamations between different trusts.
Yes. Yeah.
So they ended up with lots of construction bills. So that's good. That at least then the money that they're getting is all going towards the right places and not for paying off interest rates and bills and things. That's excellent. Something that we're going to do, well, something I'm going to bring up in a few episodes is TV listeners.
Oh, right.
Because the first lot of because it always takes time to collate everything. The TV schedules, the TV listings, viewing figures have basically started coming out from the time of the lockdown. So it'll be interesting. But on the first day of lockdown, I think it was the government announcement of the lockdown was the biggest watched program on TV. And during that first week, the news was pretty much higher than all the soaps.
Of course it would be. That's brilliant, actually, though, isn't it? Because people were paying attention.
Yeah, because normally they're quite low down.
Yeah.
In comparison with like EastEnders and Coronation Street. So the fact that they were actually on a par within a million or so, with all the soaps and things, it's interesting. So it will also be interesting to see how, as the lockdown has gone on, how the viewing figures have actually gone up and what people are actually watching. So I'll do some digging maybe over the next week or so and put something together on that.
That sounds good.
Maybe some stats, some different graphs. And something that I want to look at is ecology.
Oh, love ecology. Yes. Basically,
how things have changed as a result of lockdown.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we've already seen the funny stories about the goats in Llandudno, where because there's nothing to stop them, they've actually come down into the town and they're just running riot around the town centre. But that's something just to think about, how nature takes back when no one is there.
Oh.
So it will be interesting to see sort of how things, plants, like animals, birds, become or change as a result of the lack of people moving around, the lack of disturbance, the lack of pollution, the lack of cars and lorries and planes. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how the sort of the long-term effect, how that has an impact on the local ecology.
Actually, considering we live in the countryside already, it is amazing how wildlife is more visible, and you can hear them, can't you? You can hear animals, you can see them. I'm getting mesmerised. I actually had a little mouse run on my decking. It stopped halfway because it saw me looking at it. It's a little noise, went, oh! and ran back again. But I haven't seen that for ages. You know, when you use your garden quite a lot, you don't really see that kind of thing, do you?
I think also people are having time to actually stop and look.
Yes.
There's a lot of window staring, so people are looking at what's going on, so they're spotting things that they wouldn't normally see, because they're in the house at times that they wouldn't normally be. So if you're only there in the mornings or evenings, you're not going to see what's happening during the day.
No.
So, but because there's very little else to do, a lot of people are now looking out the windows as a form of entertainment and just out of interest. Even if you haven't, make the point of actually just sitting and watching the garden for an hour or so and just seeing what comes and goes.
I love listening to birds in the morning. I always have done, and I've always wondered, what are they saying to each other? Because they jump away, don't they? They're probably saying, look at that mad woman looking at us.
Well, haven't you noticed there's been a drop in cars?
That's right. Oh, look at the speed on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to say, I'm not just going back to talking about sleep. That's the one thing I don't like to hear, and that's the dawn chorus, because that usually means that I'm still awake and haven't gone to sleep.
That must be really, really frustrating for you.
It can be. I think it goes in cycles.
Yeah.
It's just something that always happens. It's just part of me. It just happens every so often. I think it tends to sort of happen in spring more than others.
Does it?
Yeah, I think with obviously the shift in the clocks and the change in the daylight, I think it just has an impact on the body clock. So I don't know why. But yeah, it will be interesting to see what sort of changes happen to the gardens and animal routines as well.
It will be, won't it?
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's all from us today.
Yes.
Have you got any last words?
Just please adhere to the lockdown rules, and don't make the police have to issue you with any tickets. Do the right thing. Think of everybody around you. It's the good thing to do.
It is, yes, and I'm sure that there's also the probability that you would end up being name and shamed, and you don't really want to be on the front cover of the local papers.
Definitely not.
So, yeah, follow the advice, do what you're told, stay home, keep washing your hands, if you've got masks and things, if you want to wear them, use them. They're not a complete preventative system, but it is a help. But yeah, listen to the advice, stay home, stay safe, keep washing your hands, and that's it from us.
Yes.
That's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye.